think we're live. Welcome to the Smash News Network, least busted name in news. I'm your host, Dan, a.k.a. Smash Mash, coming at you. And it's pretty early. It's not even 6:30 yet. But streaming a little earlier today because when you start early, sometimes you get done early, right? So space weather is pretty chill. We'll be talking about it. News stories, perhaps your own stories will make an appearance on today's stream. So tell us about those. And thanks for tuning in. Congratulations on realizing the channel exists. We remain largely surprised with the current state of affairs on social media. Did you know that most people by 2012 in the US get our news from social media like Twitter and Facebook as opposed to CNN and CBS? Ah, yes. So I'm just drinking some organic coffee here. And it's a delight. It's a delight. Doesn't give me the jitters. Again, it is organic coffee. And you can find links to it below the video. Yeah, you can find links. The Amazon store. Amazon.com/smashomash/shop. I'm sorry, Amazon.com/shop/smashomash. That's what it is. And yeah, if you watch too much Joe Rogan, you might still be using a French press. You shouldn't use a French press, though. You should use filters because filtered coffee is better. Unfiltered coffee, like you'd make in a French press, is full of homocysteine. And you don't want that. It's not so good. It gives you a high inflammatory profile. So, yeah. Let's leave us some comments, folks, if you're viewing in syndication. I see we do have a viewer now. Thanks for tuning in. And don't forget to press the like button, even if you're viewing at a later point. So today we'll be talking about how the sun is still capable of producing large solar flares. So we haven't seen a large solar flare in quite a while, but there is some possibility because of what's going on in that southwestern limb. So the possibility of an SEP, solar energetic particle event, is also quite high. So keep an eye on the GOES proton flux throughout the day, and you might indeed see some action. You might get irradiated on a polar flight. And if you're an astronaut, you might get irradiated. But we'll take a look at the magnetic fields and see if that setting sunspot has indeed gained complexity, lost complexity, stayed the same, and so on. So just settling into SNN Studios here. Pardon the guerrilla filming technique, but that is what the algorithms told us to do. So, since the algorithms are always wrong, since the algorithms are never wrong, we just have to do what the algorithms tell us. Just kidding, folks. We don't have to do what the algorithms tell us, but it is a concern. Yesterday's stream got like 1,500 views. And if it would have been on the computer, who knows if it would have gotten 100. So it's very strange the way the YouTube recommend algorithm works. It's very strange. But what can you say? At least censorship isn't as pathetic as it is on Twitter. So censorship is pretty pathetic in all forms, but YouTube is actually, I think, less censored than Twitter nowadays. So consider that one. Yeah, everybody's like, Elon Musk has restored free speech to the internet. Because nothing says free speech like shadow bans and outright bans of various accounts. So yeah, I gotta get rid of this facial hair. I apologize for this. I don't need a reminder to get a haircut, so I have to get like this is no, this is no. um, all right, so let's check some stories here. I'm going to break out a new browser today. I'm actually using Firefox, and I'm pretty impressed by it actually. So let's cover financial markets first. We'll talk about things like since space weather is involved with everything cyclical, right? Cyclical, like sunspot cycles. There are deep cyclicals that are affected by this. Anyway, today's situation is what I see I see Tesla hitting the headlines here. Um, oh, and Google has reached an antitrust resolution. So Sundar Pichai is glad it's over. And that means that makes me hope that it's not over. Tesla proposes new plan for Musk that would expand his voting power. Because Mr. Musk had to step down as chairman of the board for misleading investors at Tesla that prevented the Securities and Exchanges Commission from prosecuting and investigating and prosecuting Elon for misleading investors. Well, now Tesla's got a new plan to expand his voting power. Isn't that great? Isn't that wonderful? Oh my gosh, thank goodness Tesla's going to be saved. Tesla's not going to have to rely on robotaxis to meet its numbers and its growth goals. I guess the only problem is that everybody who has a Tesla already has a Tesla. And if everybody had a Tesla, we wouldn't be able to charge the Teslas. So that's fun. So pre-market trading shows the S&P up 53, the NASDAQ up 209, and the Dow Jones up 350 points. French market's already up 19 points. And same with German markets. The DAX is up 55. So there's that. Biggest losers right now in pre-market trading are Estee Lauder, Salesforce, NeSource Inc., Centene Corp., and Gartner. They're all down 4+% in pre-market trading. Bonds are currently selling off a little bit, an indication that, bonds are down, an indication that bonds are being bought right now. Gold, $3,608.40. Let's briefly talk about gold prices since they are right near an all-time high. Might be good to take a moment to talk about that, eh? So the all-time high for gold was $3,639.80. We're currently at $3,608.40. So very close to the all-time highs for gold. $3,608 an ounce for the precious metal. Silver also reaching very high levels here at $41.42 an ounce. Silver not at an all-time high. The all-time high for silver is wait a minute. That is an all-time high for silver. What? I thought silver was so the previous all-time high is only $38. I thought it was higher than that. What's up with that? I thought it got to $50 at some point. Anyway, silver's at $41.42 an ounce. And we'll briefly look at crypto here. I'll call out Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Stellar Lumens. One that I actually own, Stellar Lumens. Ticker symbol XLM. And I see we've got some comments here. And thank you for leaving comments. Jimmy Shenkushi. I will respond to those momentarily if I feel the need. Bitcoin is currently is currently up $2.24 per Bitcoin, so that's pretty much unchanged for a thing as volatile and as high priced as Bitcoin is. Ethereum, these are all Coin Metrics quotes, by the way, and I always call out the reporting agency because the volume data can be messed up because of reporting frequency. So that's why they show many different, there's no standard for the frequency of updates for cryptocurrency. So that's why CNBC shows a bunch of different sources, and that's why you get slightly different everythings. You get different bids, you get different asks, you get different different volume data because it's not updated the same at all the different reporters. So anyway, Ethereum is up $140 to $4,417.12. So that's the second biggest cryptocurrency, Ethereum, and next is like what you'd call a penny stock, Stellar Lumens. According to Coin Metrics, 36 cents per stellar lumen. So that's where we'll close out the financial stuff. Next, we'll talk about just general everyday news stories. And let me get to your comments here while that loads. Jimmy Shinkushi says, thanks for regurgitating things you don't understand. Oh, I don't understand them? Oh, well, that's not an argument. And I probably know more about economics than you do. So come up with a real criticism here. Just get a job. You're not fooling anybody. I don't need to read your Google search results to me as if I'm going to believe you have any financial expertise. Get your GED and maybe you'll have some credibility. You haven't got a clue. Okay, noob. If you say so, noob. I know more about economics than you do. And let's face off sometime in Jeopardy or perhaps Trivial Pursuit, because I will house you. I will house you in general trivia. I will house you in trivia, economics, science, and many, many other subjects. So bring it on, Jimmy. You sound like you have a small penis. All right, so let's see. Poll reveals who'd win a hypothetical Trump v. Newsom matchup. Well, that's pointless since Trump can't run for president. Let's see. What other stories do we have here? If anybody's got one, just let us know in the comments and maybe I'll comment on it. Oh, Jimmy, you're adorable. Oh, you're adorable, Jimmy. Keep typing those comments, Jimmy. You're gonna hurt my feelings. It's inevitable. Aw, Jimmy, you're adorable. Ah, yes, I know. I've never heard a weaker argument than your arguments either, because none of them are arguments. If you'd like to actually put up points where I'm wrong on something, then feel free. Otherwise, loser. 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 Jimmy Shinkushi. Is that your real name? Because that's a fucked name, by the way. You should change it. Change it to a stage name, like Jimmy is douchey. Maybe go with that. Jimmy is douchey. Go with that one. You'll sell tickets. Fake news says get a job in life. Oh, you hurt my feelings so badly. Oh, I have no job or life. Oh, no, I'm not paid to ride bikes or anything. No, I don't have a job. Oh, poor me. I rely on YouTube ad revenue. You dudes are cute. You dudes are noob. Don't face me in the gaming arena either, because I'll smoke you there too. I'll smoke you on a bike. I'll smoke you at Jeopardy, Trivial Pursuit, gaming, just like whatever you got, bring it on. I will house you like the Addams Family. All right, what do we got? A bunch of boring stories. Seems like a boring news day. Let's check another source here. Let's check another source that will remain unnamed to see if there's anything controversial. Maybe I'll talk about tech news today because the news stories are so weak. News stories are weak, but not as weak and pathetic as some of the people commenting on this video. Weak, pathetic comments, which we love, by the way. And thanks for boosting us in the algorithm by leaving comments. Like, there's no more amusing comment than a derogatory one. I find those to be delicious. So by all means, try to like make me mad. It's gonna be challenging for you because you're being pathetic is not really going to affect me. All right, so let's see here. We are going to get to things like space weather, sunspot number, CME forecasts, and so forth, but let's cover some more news stories first before we switch over to the standard space weather content. And we still do have a likelihood of large solar flares, including the possibility of X-class solar flares. So, and we'll cover it. Don't worry, we'll cover it. I have accidentally closed a tab. We'll also show you coronal holes because coronal holes create space weather. They represent magnetic field lines that just are open, just out into space. They're open, meaning you're inside them. Sort of, like Earth's magnetosphere is inside them. So anyway, let's see here. Let's talk about AI for a moment, okay? AI, it needs to be rebranded as NI, not intelligence, because the only thing artificial is people's belief that it's intelligence, because it's not intelligence. It doesn't have any of the characteristics of intelligence. So AI should be rebranded as NI, not intelligence. Or if you want to be really imaginative about it, go with II. Let's start calling it II. We could do that too. I wouldn't be offended by that like I am about AI. What about II? Imaginary intelligence. You could imagine that it's intelligence, and that still won't make it intelligence, but at least that will accurately describe what's going on. Like Tesla's fully self-crashing cars, not intelligent. Like videos of a pig jumping up and down on a trampoline with a rooster on its back, not intelligence. Like all the AI art and music and poetry that's out there, not intelligence. It's large language models. That's all it is. I mean, you would think a large language model would be able to figure out how many fingers humans have, but apparently that's, is it still an issue? I remember when AI first came out and everybody was so impressed by how realistic it could make a fake image. Like, so? Remember in the 1970s, Pixar Studios made a movie called Star Wars: A New Hope. Remember that? Like, special effects were pretty good back then. How is it some kind of a breakthrough 50 years later to say, ooh, look, AI. AI can make special effects now. Therefore, we're going to be living in a utopia any minute because AI. It's adorable. We're automating things that could have been automated since the 1980s at the very latest, but probably automating things that could have been automated since the 1970s. And now we're finally doing it, and everybody's like, bravo, bravo, Google, Microsoft, Apple, Meta, Twitter, Tesla, and so on. The pioneers in AI. The pioneers in AI are pioneers in misleading investors. That's what they're pioneers in. So all these investments in AI are investments in wasted cash. Wasted cash. What a joke. The summer AI turned ugly, part 1. Oh man, AI. It definitely should be relabeled as NI. All right. So yeah, if you've got an interesting news story to cover, let us know in the comments because it's pretty lame. Brand new super yacht sinks minutes after launch. It had a stabilization issue. Yeah, I'd say. There's nothing like a capsized yacht. There's a stabilization issue with the capsized yacht, folks. Who would have thought? Microplastics are linked to heart disease. Gee, is that a surprise that people that have shite diets also have heart disease? Might not be causal, folks. It could be correlationary. You know the difference between cause and correlation? Let me explain it to you. Shark attacks are correlated with ice cream eating. So do you think it's like super dangerous to like eat an ice cream cone in the ocean? Right? Does eating ice cream cones cause shark attacks? Let us know in the comments what you think. Jimmy, you should really be careful about giving medical advice on YouTube. You might sound like the moron that you are, and you know that could lead to ramifications. You could find yourself getting muted, banned, kicked, like who knows? Who knows? It's a good thing you don't live in China, Jimmy. It's a good thing you don't live in China. But maybe you ought to move there. I heard it's a beautiful place this time of year. Jimmy, you have that small penis energy. Tariffs. Let's talk tariffs. Tariffs harm the U.S. economy. The U.S. economy has been going downhill since the year 2001. Sure, it's had some ups and downs. Sure, the market's up now, especially the overinflated NASDAQ, which is a huge bubble economy, largely because of NI pioneers, not intelligence pioneers. Um, so yeah, that's been my main concern for the U.S. for over 20 years, the economy, because it's shattered and it's only been getting worse. So belligerence at sea. Belligerence at sea. Are you a pirate? Are mushrooms psychotropic? Well, some of them are. Anyway, let's talk tariffs. Tariffs harm the U.S. consumer-driven economy because they harm the consumer. Tariffs cause higher prices, less choices, shortages, and lower quality. That harms consumers. Harm to consumers harms the greater economy because it's a consumer-driven service economy. So tariffs harm the economy. If you say tariffs create jobs, I'll just say that they actually cause more jobs to be lost than they cause to be created, since that's the reality of tariffs. They also cause worldwide levels of uncertainty for economics. So it causes people to say, before I invest, I'm going to wait out the Trump administration because I don't want to invest anywhere because I don't know what the tariffs are going to be. So I have trouble projecting what my numbers will be like because tariffs, which harm the economy. Any other questions? By all means, put them in the comments and I will lambaste Trump more because Trump is an economic illiterate, as Trump demonstrated in his first term. So, if you were listening to Peter Schiff back in 2016, he would have said the only problem that Peter Schiff had with Trump is that he's a Democrat. Just like Gary Johnson, who ran on the libertarian ticket, didn't understand libertarianism. And like most Republicans, Trump doesn't understand fiscal conservatism. So there's that. Tariffs harm the consumer-driven economy. Next, people are very concerned that Xi Jinping and Putin and Kim Jong-un will become immortal by locating some organ farms or something. They can pickle their liver and they'll just get a new one, right? Like they're like supervillains. So very worried that, oh no, they may become immortal. They may live to 150 years old. Oh no, what am I gonna do? What up, Asmodeus 420? Nice name. Asmodeus 420X. Are you a D&D player? Do you play D&D? Yeah, what's up, dude? Anthony Spinella says, get a job, take a shower. Um, Look, man, I'm feeling good, smelling better. So, I might have some facial hair that definitely has to go, but I probably smell much, much better than you do. But thanks for the advice. I don't know what it's based on. And as far as my employment scenario, I don't think you understand who you're talking to. So, doesn't hurt my feelings though. It does make me lol. So, uh, you are a D&D player. Ha, I called it, right? Geez, are you currently playing a campaign? That's so cool. We're actually thinking of starting one, and you can find the Discord channel linked below the video, right on the homepage at smashomash.com. There's a permanent invite link to our Discord channel there. If you want to send a DM, you can. If you want to talk about D&D strategy and stuff like that, you can. We may even start up a channel just to play a campaign. So we've got probably half a dozen people that are actually interested in playing D&D. And if you do it within a Discord chat, you can have live sessions where everybody's on video, and you can have sessions that are just basically done by text, where the game still moves on, but in a very slow way. So yeah, join our Discord chat, and like I might be able to DM. I don't really know the modern rules. I'd have to like brush up. I can probably download the player's handbook and so on. When I stopped playing, I was playing second edition. So I would request that we play second edition because I have a monstrous compendium that's this thick. And monsters are the most important thing in D&D, in my opinion. Like for some DMs, items are the most important. For some DMs, the campaign is the most important. For some DMs, the outer planes are the most important, or something like that, right? So it's for me, monsters. I've always been like a monster specialist. I I create custom random monster charts on the regs. So yeah, hit us up on Discord as Modius420X. And again, nice name there. Picking King of the Devils as your name. That's pretty good. I like it. Oh, how about this one? Here's a good one. Yeah, this doesn't sound dystopian in any way. Military pursues, and we're talking about the U.S. military here. The U.S. military wants artificial intelligence to do what human propagandists cannot: create and spread influence campaigns at internet speed while systematically suppressing opposition voices abroad, according to internal Pentagon documents obtained by The Intercept. Yeah, some Orwellian dystopian international nonsense that the Pentagon wants to do. All it wants to do is suppress dissenting voices and spread propaganda about the existing administration. No big deal. What could possibly go wrong? What could possibly go wrong, folks? If you recall what it was like, the censorship of 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, remember all that censorship? Well, the Pentagon wants to take that international. Look, oh, it'll be fine. I'm sure they're not going to pressure Facebook UK to like suppress knife crime numbers or anything. No, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. Censorship, it's pure evil. It's pure evil. And history will never smile on the censors, because look at who has performed censorship in the past. Shall we? Shall we go down the list? Because the Spanish Inquisition practiced censorship. The World War II Nazi Party practiced censorship. Lenin and Stalin practiced censorship. Mao Zedong practiced censorship. Shall I go on? The US government practiced censorship. Google practiced censorship. Apple practiced censorship. Let's don't forget about Meta, at the time known as Facebook, or perhaps you'd prefer to call them Feces Book. And let's don't forget Twitter. Used to censor people, still does censor people, and is still an echo chamber. Now it's just a right-wing echo chamber instead of a left-wing echo chamber, but still an echo chamber. Elon Musk did a fine job with Twitter. He said, he did a Kanye. He said, give me the mic, bro, so everybody can see memes that are fit for a 10-year-old, bro. It'll be cool. It'll be so cool. Oh, it'll be so cool. Oh, so cool. All right. Man, comments suck today. Somebody with an IQ above 67, please leave a comment. Besides you, Asmodeus 420X, and of course also belligerence at sea. YouTube. Bruce Minas says, censored tip. Dude, do you have an actual photo of yourself now? Dag. You are a handsome man. Batman. Bruce Minas. Not old enough. Not old enough to not be totally hot, Bruce. Chicks dig Batman. So I'll just the 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 first rule of Batman is if you know Batman, don't out Batman in the YouTube comments. If that makes any sense. So there was an interesting story on SciTech Daily today that I noticed, and I shared it. But first, here's one that I didn't share until right now. Cannabis for anxiety, it may make things worse. Yeah, did you know that cannabis can make people more anxious? Yeah, it's true. Interestingly enough, cannabis raises your heart rate. Did you know that? So, and it's a performance enhancing drug. It really is. As a cyclist, I know this. And here's why it's a performance enhancing drug. The mechanism by which cannabis raises your heart rate is vasodilation. Yeah, your vessels get bigger, which lowers your blood pressure, raises your heart rate. And the reason it raises your heart rate is because your body's trying to maintain homeostasis and get the same nutrition to your cells. So if your blood pressure drops because of vasodilation, your heart has to beat faster to get the same nutrients and oxygen to your cells. So that's the mechanism by which cannabis causes your heart rate to go up. Does it cause anxiety for everybody? Well, absolutely not. Some people it puts them to sleep. Some people it creates paranoid delusions for. So there's a huge range of the way it affects people. And like if you have like schizoaffective disorder or something like that, it's probably not wise for you to consume cannabis products because they'll probably exacerbate things like feelings of anxiety and paranoia. So there's that. I know something about this, so I figured I would comment. Yeah, if you've ever gotten weed paranoia, you would know, of course. I mean, when I went to junior prom, I smoked out of a 6-footer. Yeah, a 6-foot bong. You know, somebody else had to light it because it took 3 people to clear it. Like it was going a little too far, but that's what dudes were like back then in the 90s. In the 90s, smoking weed was like an Olympic event. People went above and beyond the call of getting baked. Like it wasn't like smoke a joint. It's like smoke a joint that's this big, and you know, that's what was going on in the 90s if you weren't aware. It was like the Olympic weed smoking team in every garage. All right, so I did see something on SciTech Daily. I'm going to track it down. It was something about record-breaking radio flash from 130 million light years away. That's an interesting one. An FRB, probably a fast radio burst. Yep. One of the brightest ever seen, traced to a galaxy only 130 million light years away, so not that far away, not in the billions of light years. Here's some cosmic plasma that's nearly in a state of equilibrium. Yeah, a double helix, some spirals, and there are some spirals in space. Does it mean that there's a Birkeland current there? Well, absolutely not. There could be one, but in this case, they look like they are in an equilibrium state, so probably not a Birkeland current running through them. There are Birkeland currents. Those are definitely a thing, but they don't do stuff like control stars and the motions of galaxies. because that would be super obvious. We would see them, but we don't. Yes, Bruce Minas. Bruce Minas is perhaps a picture of health. Tell us more of your secrets, sir. How you stay so youthful and maintaining a dexterity of 19, since you are the Brazilian chapter of Batman. I guess you can tell people on our stream that you're Batman because most Brazilians probably aren't watching. So make sure you press that share button, Bruce. I mean, are you on Feces Book and Twitter and stuff like that? Because you should definitely press share and bring some more Brazilians to the channel. I mean, we've got viewers from all around the world. You know, Tasmania. We even had merch that went all the way to Tasmania. I think that was the farthest our merch got. I think they got some Universum Liberate products, if I recall. Was it Universum? No, it might have been Do Not Pole Vault the Caldera. Anyway, you can find links below the video to our Redbubble shop as well. Lots of merch available there. Let's see. I could have sworn it was about space. Anyway, I shared it on Twitter, so you can find us there, x.com/smashomash. And we're all over the socials. You can find links to all of that on the homepage, which we carefully curated for you to find us on social media, smashomash.com. Scientists finally solved the mystery of the sun's fastest particles. That could be interesting. New measurements show we may live in a cosmic void. All right, let's read this one about the sun's fastest particles. Like solar energetic particle events? Or are you talking about the high speed? Oh, we're talking about high speed electrons. So these are the fastest particles, I'm sure. The sun acts as the solar system's ultimate particle accelerator. It pushes electrons to speeds approaching that of light, hurling them into space and filling the solar system with what scientists call SEEs, solar energetic electrons. ESA's solar orbiter have now tracked them back to their origin. And it shows two distinct types of SEE events. Again, solar energetic electrons. One is linked to powerful solar flares, which also links the SEPs, solar energetic particles or protons. Keep in mind, electrons are leptons. They have about 1/1800th the mass of a proton. So a proton is 1,800 times more massive. Or you could say it takes 1,800 electrons to equal the mass of a proton approximately. So it's from the SEEs are caused by solar flares and and coronal mass ejections. So we see a clear split between impulsive particle events where these energetic electrons speed off the sun's surface in bursts via solar flares, and gradual ones associated with more extended CMEs, which release a broader swell of particles over longer periods of time, says lead author Alexander Wormuth of Leibniz Institute for Astrophysics, Potsdam, Germany. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, not very surprising that the SEEs, solar energetic electrons, are linked to solar flares and CMEs. The same thing that is the correlation with SEPs, solar energetic particle events, which is proton events, as shown on the GOES proton flux, which we'll get to, since SEPs are more likely when we have large solar flares setting at the limb. All right, I'm just going to take a brief look here at extremetech.com. I like extremetech.com. They report objectively on things like junkware. And of course, we're all exposed to junkware. You're viewing this video on YouTube, so there is plenty of junkware to go around. Google probably being the world's largest junkware manufacturer, creating app after app after app that works to spy on you but doesn't work as purported. NVIDIA grows to 94% of GPU market. That's the processors used in graphics cards, by the way, if you weren't aware. Graphics chipsets. Microsoft Power Toys. Microsoft Power Toys 0.94 introduce shortcut conflict flags, sniper-like mouse control, and more. That might be something to look at if you're actually willing to use Microsoft. I would recommend that you upgrade to Linux. Switch to Linux and get rid of the proprietary, insecure, unprivate junkware forever. If you don't have a backdoor hardware backdoor, then if you install Linux on an encrypted hard drive, you'll be as private and secure as you could possibly get. Completely private and secure. Linux, like Ubuntu or Linux Mint, they're free open source OSs. So if you're sick of Microsoft and Apple and Google, three pathetic junkware manufacturers who are pioneers in misleading investors, and that's about it, not in AI, they're definitely pioneers in NI, not intelligence. Was that emphatic enough for you? All right, so we'll also, let's take a look at some U.S. weather, shall we? Because there's an upper level low over central Canada, which is causing some earth weather. So let's talk about it, especially around the Great Lakes, but there's also plenty of rain around the southern plains. You know, like Kansas, Colorado, Oklahoma. Also around the Texas, New Mexico, Mexican borders, there are some showers. And it looks like some moving out of Las Vegas area. I can show the screen here briefly. Sure, why not? There you go. There's our guerrilla filming technique of the day. YouTube, it wants the videos to be in portrait mode because reasons. So yeah, there's the US. Let me animate that. Either animate it or I'm going to animate my fist directly to your face. So there you go. That's what's going on with the U.S. Doppler radar. Doppler radar shows vertical motion of water droplets in the air column. So don't conflate that with things like satellite imagery. And we'll get to solar imagery here in a minute. But let's first cover the water vapor map so you can see how these things really play together. Is that all right? Is that small enough? We'll shrink it down one more size here. There is the GOES water vapor map from the GOES East. And yeah, there's a second wave of cold air from Canada coming down here. So you can see this moisture here moving across the Great Plains, moving into Missouri as we make the video. And you can see rapid rainfall happening there across Kansas. So that's what's going on. When the Doppler radar is unclear for you, when this does not provide enough info, then just break out this. And if you understand the way atmospheric physics works, then you will see what is causing the anomalies on your Doppler. So we've got dry air east of the Mississippi and more neutral to moist air west of the Mississippi. Southern California is very dry, though, so San Diego will have clear skies on this fine Friday. And congratulations on nearly surviving another week so far. So here's what's going on with the closest star. And if you are a stargazer, congratulations on realizing the channel exists. We spend lots of time stargazing at the most interesting star at which to gaze, the local yellow dwarf. So let me load up some SDO images. There we go. That is good times. Good times. The STO 211 angstroms wavelength. So that is showing yesterday and today. That's September 4th and 5th, respectively. And we've got some coronal holes here with 90-degree angles in them, a very boxy coronal hole, and a huge tuft of plasma there kind of in the middle. So that's a very composite system there. So you've got high-speed wind coming out of these areas, which we can expect to see any time now. So probably later today, if we don't already have it. Wouldn't be surprised at all to see a spike in the solar wind density. So that's a forecast for you. Expect to see a spike in the solar wind density. Current conditions are only 2.3 protons per cubic centimeter, so we should get a great signal there when the coronal hole high-speed stream does arrive. As far as the X-ray situation, we did have one M-class event, so let's take a look at the closest star here through the filter of 94 angstroms. Another species of ionized iron. 94 angstroms is great at showing solar flares. So here we'll find out where that M-class event came from. Probably that southwestern limb, if I had to guess, which I don't, of course. I think it came from that group in the north. Let me check the timing on that. I did see a massive CME happening yesterday, which is likely earthly directed, so fingers crossed for that. That M-class event was earlier this morning at about 1:0100. Let's see if we can figure that one out. 0100 today. We'll bring this back. Hopefully you can see the timestamps. I think that M-class event... Oh, no, wait a minute. Yep, the M-class event came from up here. So there's that M-class flare. Let's take a look at that sunspot, since it could be an offender. Fingers crossed on that. It is in a good location. So hopefully... And that was a crappy zoom. I apologize. Let's try that again. So that flare came from way up there, right in the center longitudes there, and sort of the leading edge of that sunspot group. That unfortunately does not look particularly magnetically complex. So that group there. Let's see. I see some leading umbrae there, but they're very small. So a little bit of a leading delta there. These areas right here, they do show some magnetic shear. So there is some possibility for those to continue to produce large flares. Fingers crossed on that, but no promises. We don't expect that one to be super active. And as far as these setting regions go, I think it's going to be too late to get a read on them now. Come on, then. Yeah, there still is a chance for X-class flares there. So for about the next 12 hours, we still may see X-class flares from those setting regions in the southwest. Here's the full disk view for you. We just updated those, so those are fresh. So that's what the solar disk is looking like right now. As far as sunspot number goes, let's check and see if we got any CMEs here. I did see one launching yesterday, so I suspect there may be an earthly directed one. That would have been pretty early in the day around here. No halo. So I suspect that's going to miss to the north from the way things look on the coronagraphs. Let's see what the Huxt forecast shows. I suspect it's going to agree with me here, but let's just take a look at it. And we'll loop that around. So yes, according to the Huxt forecast, we don't see any Earth-directed CMEs, but as you can see there is a coronal hole high-speed stream on the way. So I'm expecting to see a density spike any moment. Um, that is the telltale sign of a coronal hole high-speed stream. You see a spike in the solar wind density, and then you see the density come down and the velocity come up at the same time. That is the telltale sign of the coronal hole high-speed stream. So yeah, that's what's going on. Sunspot number is currently, I'm going to show you some close-up images or some recent last couple hour images of the closest star here. We do see some plasma activity here right around the center of the solar disk. So the likelihood of an Earth-directed coronal mass ejection is actually very high still. And we do have lots of filaments yet. We'll also show you those. Sunspot number is currently at about 152 sunspots. And the current 10.7 centimeter radio flux, according to solar.info/solar, is 172. No, wait, that's a radio flux. So radio flux 172, sunspot number 152, and the radio flux is in solar flux units. One solar flux unit equaling 10,000 Jansky. And Jansky is radio flux density with radio signal traveling through a vacuum. No spikes in the proton flux, but don't be surprised to see one of those. Let's show the filaments because they are impressive. We named one yesterday after KISS bassist Gene Simmons, and it still is intact. So there you go. There's the Gene Simmons filament. And if you want to name filaments after your friends, your foes, or even yourself, oh, wait a minute. Did the Gene Simmons filament launch? Here it is. It looks very snaky, right? You see that? And now it's gone, or at least part of it's gone. Did it collapse or did it blast off? Could be too early to tell. Let's see what we've got here. So sometime before 7:47 Universal Time today, we may have seen it blast off. So let's check and see what's going on here. Oh, wait a minute. There we are. That's better. Some images of the closest star there. The closest star, El Sol. That's the past about 2.5 hours. And like I said, you can see a bunch of plasma activity right in here. So some filaments looking like they are on the way out. They look like they're headed to the northwest. So also look at the size of this massive filament down here. Yeah, it looks like the Gene Simmons has blasted off earlier this morning. Not exactly sure if that's going to be earthly directed or not. But if I had to guess, I would say probably not. It's probably going to miss to the northeast, which would be up in this direction, which is sort of, that filament was sort of down here. And now it is gone. So yeah, some likelihood of solar flares there, both from this active region up here, this sunspot group, and this sunspot group here. But this one's going to expire soon in the southwest because it is setting. So just keep in mind that you can still see a large solar flare emanating from a sunspot long after it has set, even as much as about 24 to 36 hours after a sunspot sets. Let's go back to the magnetic fields and so on. So here's the current situation, our line of sight coronal hole plot. This will show you the sun's magnetic fields. There you go, there are the coronal fields from the National Sunspot Observatory. North Pole oriented coronal holes are the ones that are currently at play, and again, expecting a high-speed stream coming from that very shortly. Earth remains in a North Pole magnetic sector. That'll probably end in the next about 24 to 36 hours. Oh, and we do see some activity over there in the east. So if you look at the final few frames here, you'll see that sector boundary, which is right here. You'll see that extending out. Watch. Whoops. So there is some activity there that could be the growth of a North Pole-oriented coronal hole near the equator. It could be the reduction of a South Pole-oriented coronal hole, or it could be an active region over there in the east constraining the magnetic field lines. All of those things can cause this to do what you're seeing there. So it could be from a sunspot or active region, or it could be from coronal hole motion. Either way, it gives us insight that is not even visible, rising there over the eastern limb. Let me get to your comments here as I see a number of them, and thanks for leaving comments, everybody. If you're viewing the video, please press like. I see 1 like, dozens of comments, and 4 viewers. So please press the things and help the channel out in the algorithm because, well, the algorithm doesn't help the channel out very much. So we would prefer if people like you pressed share and so forth. Oh, look at that. We've got Gemma in the house. Belligerence at Sea says, off topic, but have you seen Jim E. Brown? Quote, I urinated on a butterfly. No, I didn't. And that sounds irritating. So Brownie Dog says, privacy, he, your age is showing. I don't know what the hell that is supposed to mean, but I find it slightly offensive. What does privacy have to do with age? Are you an ageist? What is your problem? And what do you think my age is? And how is it showing? Get a clue. Belligerence at Sea says, gotta go. Good to see you're alive. Cheers. Good to see you're alive as well. Congratulations on not being dead. Don't die. Don't die, folks. Yeah, I can say that to each of you. Did you know that I love every single viewer? Yeah, every single one of you. And the most challenging ones is loving the ones I don't like. Because some of you I dislike, but I still love you. So cheers. Nocturnal Domain. Hi. Is that the sun's magnetic field looks? Cool. Let me show you an even cooler magnetic fields for the sun. All right. If you think that's cool, check this out. If you go to the SDO data page, right, you can bring up the potential field surface source maps. Look how cool this is. Watch this. This is super cool. This is going to show you the magnetic fields of the photosphere, right? Check it out. Very, very cool. So there you can see the sunspot numbers are shown there. That's what this is if you go to this, you pick data links, PFSS, that means potential field surface source. And yeah, the SDO calculates that. So there you have the 171 angstroms wavelength along with the potential field surface source lines, as well as the magnetic fields there in colorized magnetogram. Yeah, so now keep in mind that's not the same as this, because this is actually referring to the solar plasma. The SDO is focused on the solar photosphere. So the layer of the sun where you see sunspots, that is the photosphere layer. This is looking at the photosphere. This is looking at the photosphere. That is the lowest layer visible from our location, all right? Because the sun's magnetic fields, they obscure what's under the photosphere. So that's as deep as we can see. If you see a black sunspot, that is literally the deepest that you can see in the sun. That is the photosphere. Above that, you have the chromosphere level, which the 304 angstroms wavelength is good at showing the chromosphere. You do get a little bit of it when you look at 304 angstroms. That's the ionized helium wavelength. So that's the past 48 hours of the closest star there in ionized helium. Ionized helium is also great at showing the filaments. So you can see these limb darkening events. Massive limb darkening event right there. Yo, that's an Earth-directed CME right there. I mean, I'm going to bring this up in the browse data form. There is an Earth-directed CME that has just jumped off, and I'm pretty sure that's from this morning. It looked like it was very recent. Not going to be on the coronagraphs yet, but you can expect to see some space weather showing up by late day on the 7th. Yeah, late day on the 7th. There is space weather on the way. There is an Earth-directed CME. I just saw it, and it's going to have an Earth-directed component. Whether it hits Earth directly or not is anybody's guess. But that is an Earth-directed CME. Maybe you saw it here first. I'll bring it down into slow motion for you here. I'll break it down to the bone gristle, to quote Method Man, because that was legit.
What the heck? Yeah, I don't know. Maybe that was late in the day yesterday. Let's look at yesterday instead here. We'll bring it back to the 4th. Just give that a moment to load. Ooh, look at that. Right there. That M-class flare, look at that. That is an Earth-directed CME right there. Oh, that is 100% earthly directed. That might not be like a direct hit, but that is an earthly directed component right there. So there you go. CME detected. I don't know how that doesn't show up on the coronagraphs, but right there at 2000, at 2000 last night, major Earth-directed CME there. That one can cause major geomagnetic storms as well. I can tell just by looking at that signature. That is going to be legit. So let's see what we see in the coronagraphs here associated with that time frame. Here is LASCO C2. We'll go to 2000. That is weird. It doesn't show anything. So that is very, very strange. I don't quite get that. I don't know why that would even be, but you saw the CME on the SDO imagery. Oh yeah, there's a halo there. There's a halo there, but there are other events going on at the same time that obscure it. So that looks high speed too. So I'm going to say actually by the 7th, it could be early in the day on the 7th. So Earth-directed CME on the way, folks. I mean, there it is. Like, read them and weep. Read them and weep if you're frightened of CMEs, and read them and be happy if you enjoy CMEs, because there it is. So I'm just going to bring up yesterday. We're going to put full yesterday here, and I'm going to show you that in epic slow motion. So watch this thing propagate. We'll bring this forward to about 1700. There it goes, right out of the center of the solar disk. So very close to the very center of the solar disk. And you can see that, wow, a really, really stringy looking CME there. Just, you can see that it's completely oriented into lines. Like, look at that. It's like parallel lines. Just awesome. Look at that. Wow, major limb darkening event. That is just epic. So, major geomagnetic storm coming here. It's a somewhat of a stealthy CME. What can I say? There it is. Facts. Look at that thing. That is legit. Pardon that strobing effect. Let me reload this. I don't know why it does that. It's like it wants to time out or something. But we're just going to let that play through, and we're going to close this video out, because that is how to close out a video about space weather. Earth-directed CME on the way, folks. So expect geomagnetic storm conditions, mid-latitude aurora, and so forth. Love to see it. Exciting stuff. And yeah. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We're going to close this thing out. If you got any more comments, leave them now, or forever hold your psst. Elaborate, Jimmy S. in plain English. Nocturnal Domain says, yeah, nice, but I'm kind of IT dyslexia and have no clue on how to do it all set up and how to connect with all that. So it's great that you're available to do all that for us not so gifted people. Devin Rose says, look the right, it looks like a face. Dennis says, thanks, Dan. No, thank you, Dennis, for leaving a comment. We appreciate that. Nocturnal Domain says, well, I guess it's not coming from Hubble or the James Webb. Is there a stationary satellite, or is it from a telescope on Earth that broadcasting the picture? They're all different. So the SDO is in a high Earth orbit, in a figure 8 orbit over the Pacific Ocean. The GOES 19 is in a geosynchronous orbit. And the ground-based thing that we showed the magnetic fields with, that is a ground-based observatory that measures the Zeeman effect. So it's using plasma to guess the magnetic fields. Yeah, all right. Anyway, it's time to close this thing out. Thanks for tuning in, folks. I've been your host, Dan, a.k.a. Smash-O-Mash. Don't forget to press all the things like, share, visit our links. If you want to send me a DM, do it on Discord. Join the Discord chat if you like. There's a permanent link on the homepage, smashomash.com. And it's time to close this thing out. Thanks again for tuning in, folks. Congratulations on realizing the channel exists. I've been your host, Dan, a.k.a. Smash-O-Mash, signing off from the Smash News Network, least busted name in news. Geomagnetic storm coming on September 7th. Hopefully we'll have clear skies here in Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania. And until next time, may that solar wind be at your back.